All right, welcoming to the podcast, Slipknot drummer and all-round hero, Jay Weinberg. Jay, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, I know we're here to talk about the new Slipknot album, but more importantly, it was your birthday. So happy birthday, my friend. I know I'm a week late to it.
Thank you. No, it's okay. Thank you.
How's it all been, man? I know you guys are doing some final US shows right now. How's the road been? Did you get to celebrate your birthday at least?
Yeah, we've been home for a little bit. I celebrated my birthday at home. That was awesome. We've been extraordinarily busy. We've been playing a lot of shows. Basically the last 12 months. We've been on the road almost constantly. Finally getting to the chance to play shows out of our own country, which has been awesome. But now we are about to start another US tour in a matter of days. Just doing what we do, and we're happy to be out doing it.
Yeah, I'll get to the tour stuff a little bit later on. But dude, the end so far, congratulations.
Thank you.
It is just over 9:15 here in Sydney, Australia. I've been blaring this album nonstop for the last 24 hours. I know that Corey Taylor recently said that this album is like a more structured version of 2019's We Are Not Your Kind. I love it, but do you agree with that sentiment that this is probably like a more maybe refined version of We Are Not Your Kind?
I don't know. I think, for me, when we're approaching a record, I kind of like to put anything that's in our past just kind of in the past. And I of course, with whatever I can contribute, I want it to, I want to up my game, so to speak. I want to go further, go deeper into what, this band is all about. And to do that, I kind of have to put blinders and just focus on the songs we're working on right now. And you get really kind of, when you get laser focus like that, I kind of, we'll reference certain like touchstones of things from older records. Like, if we're working on a moody song, we might talk about like, oh yeah, remember, that kind of mood from Solway Firth or whatever, anything from a previous Slipknot record. We'll kind of use that as like touchstones for ourselves. I certainly agree that it's a sharper, I think, further refined version of what we're about. It's even more experimental, I feel, than We Are Not Your Kind was, even though We Are Not Your Kind definitely had experimental moments in it. Like a song like Spiders was kind of, out of left field for us, but we got to experiment with that and make it part of our wheelhouse. And that's what really, I think, gets us incredibly excited about our new music, is when we're able to do stuff that surprises us, So with this record, I think there was even more of that, which is awesome. But yeah, I think it's just like a natural progression where we use We Are Not Your Kind as a stepping stone. We couldn't have gotten to the end so far without We Are Not Your Kind, without Point 5, the Great Chapter. These are like necessary kind of building blocks to go, where to get to where we are now. Much like, the end so far will be another stepping stone in a lineage that will get us to where we're going. But yeah, it's hard to say how it relates to like previous work and stuff, other than I feel like it's a good step forward. And I think we all agree about that.
Tell me how it came together, because obviously We Are Not Your Kind came out in August 2019. And then we had that little thing called a global pandemic. And then Corey released his debut solo album in October 2020. I remember I did an interview with him right around that time as well. And he told me that, the guys are talking and you're throwing some ideas around. When did this album really start coming together? Because again, obviously the world has lost the last 2 years because of the pandemic. How did you guys manage to get together and really get this going when there was so much going on at that time?
Yeah, well, especially in the pandemic, we weren't really able to get together, because
Sure.
we were, we all lived pretty far apart. And at that time, especially, like, travel was sketchy and being in the same room as each other was sketchy. So we all had to become quite adept at being our own self-recorders and self-engineers. And, a lot of us have, we spent years making records where we watch producers and engineers, and I can kind of monkey see, monkey do my way around, a Pro Tools rig and recording my drums. So yeah, once we understood that we had had an opportunity while we couldn't play shows. We had an opportunity to go back to the drawing board and make a new record. And so with that came, everybody came to the table with ideas, and those ideas turn into, raw primitive demos. And then we just kind of, everybody tries to get their hands on it. For me, that was a lot of like collecting demos that guys have been working on, and me kind of taking that and understanding what my contribution will be, how I can maybe, send a number of songs in a number of different ways through what I'm going to contribute. So, and then send that back to the guys, and we refine it further. And then it really got to the point once we had amassed a certain, number of songs, like, anywhere from like 10 to 15 songs or something like that. It's like, okay, here's like a good framework for what this record will be. Let's now get together. And once it was, safe to do so, it's like, okay, let's get into a studio. Let's meet up with Joe Barisi, our new producer, who we worked with on this album. And that's when the rubber kind of met the pavement of really making this album what it turned out to be. And yeah, so it came together very differently. I mean, We Are Not Your Kind, we would meet up every 3 or 4 months for about a month, a couple weeks at a time. And we would just, write, rehearse, and edit and listen. And we would do that over the course of like 3 years. We didn't have that this time around. We worked much more quickly, especially when it came time to recording the stuff. I think all my drums were probably done in the space of like 3 weeks, maybe.
Wow.
Something like that. And so yeah, it was a different kind of recording scenario for us, but I think that's also par for the course, where, we don't want to make the same record twice. So having radically different recording and writing and arranging experiences, I think kind of lends itself to like, you can't help but make something different and new. And that is exciting for us. So yeah, it was a wild experience making this album, and we're very excited now to be able to share it with the world.
We Are Not Your Kind was widely regarded by critics and fans as one of the best Slipknot albums ever. Was there a certain pressure you guys felt? And we knew that We Are Not Your Kind, there was a lot of stuff going on in your personal lives. It probably was a really difficult album to make, but we just touched on there the difficulties logistically of making an album during a pandemic. Was there a pressure there to live up to the greatness of We Are Not Your Kind? Was it an easier process? Was it harder because of, you guys couldn't get in a studio together? Was it easier this time around?
It was harder. Yeah, for sure. Like, we're a band that comes alive when we're on stage together, when we're in a room together. So yeah, trying to make stuff in the vacuum of the pandemic was difficult, for sure. That was definitely a creative challenge that we had to rise to. I think we're a band that doesn't shy away from a challenge like that, and if anything, it's going to drive us to, go deeper into it and show that that's not gonna stop us, that just because this pandemic is happening, that's not gonna stop what Slipknot does. So that's kind of the attitude I think we had to take with it, and learn how to circumnavigate this extraordinarily different kind of scenario for us. As far as pressure, like, I don't think any of us feel pressure to necessarily outdo what we've done before. We always want to bring our A game. We always, depend on each other to bring the goods and to play our best, to help create the best song we can. Whatever song we're working on, we want it to be the best that it can be. But I don't think that's really in reference to like, well, it has to be better than We Are Not Your Kind, or it has to be better than this or that, because those are all kind of like objective, arbitrary things, where to us it's just the next collection of songs that we feel ready to share with the world. And it's just in this trajectory that's just moving forward. I think there is some validity to, like, for instance, when we were making We Are Not Your Kind, I felt a certain internal pressure where we made the great chapter and I'm proud of it, but then we played 200 something shows in support of it, and I was like, oh well, now I have a whole other informational database downloaded into my mind of what being in Slipknot is all about, because we made the great chapter and I hadn't even played a Slipknot show yet, which to me is like totally backwards, because the show is what we are, that's what we do.
Yeah.
And that informs how we play with each other and are in the studio together. And that's why that record was recorded live as a band, you know, just playing with each other. So I felt a certain kind of responsibility to myself and to my bandmates that, you know, I've got to deliver beyond what I was capable of on the Gray chapter. I want to deliver even further past that. And I think that's a good kind of internal competition where it's like, I'm just in competition with myself to want to push myself into things that are beyond, you know, what my capabilities were, and, you know, bring things to the table that push what we're doing forward. And so maybe there is a little bit of internal pressure there of like just wanting to redefine what our A game is. And I think we all take that on individually. We probably take that on kind of as a group, not necessarily like this album's going to be faster than We Are Not Your Kind and heavier than We Are Not Your Kind. It's like, you know, who really cares about that? I don't really care about that. I just want to, I want to, for all of us to feel, you know, just as proud in this moment of a new record that we just made as I was when we finished working on We Are Not Your Kind. Because if we just made another album that was like that, none of us would be happy about that. You know, I would consider that a failure, you know,
For sure.
if we just made the same album again. So the fact that we have utilized this, you know, this crazy predicament that we all were in, and we weren't defeated by it, we rose to the occasion and made something that we're proud of. That's awesome. And to me, that feels like we surmounted that, you know, internal pressure that we might have to perform and make something that we're excited about, because I feel like we did.
You mentioned there before, you recorded an album before playing a show with this band. So correct me if I'm wrong, this is your third studio record with Slipknot.
Yes. Yep.
Can you tell me a bit about the experience of coming into the band then? I mean, it wasn't like you joined an indie band. Slipknot are one of the biggest metal bands of all time, and they were when you joined. Now you're here talking about the third record you've done with this band. Do you feel more settled as a band member? Do you know, as far as coming into a band that is already a giant, what was the difference then to now as far as sitting down and getting to put an album together with these guys?
I think the difference is just like I've gathered more knowledge and understanding of what we are, you know, all things that I never would have known being an outsider to the band. It took joining the band to really learn all the things that I've had to know about what being in this band is like. You know, Slipknot's not a room for people to get comfortable in. You know, none of us would describe being in Slipknot as comfortable or like we're used to it or anything like that. And that's fine. You know, I think that just makes us what we are. But no, I definitely feel like I've been able to understand kind of our language that we speak, which isn't verbal. It's a lot of unspoken things that allow us to get from day to day and from show to show and song to song and all those kinds of things that like I would have never known otherwise. But after playing several hundred shows together, you learn a lot about each other, and traveling the world together, you really learn a lot. And there's no substitute for that. You just have to do it. But yeah, no, 3 records in, I feel like, you know, I've learned how we, you know, how serious this band takes its craft. And I knew that from day one when we started jamming together. Like all of a sudden I had to kind of turn this switch in my mind from being an outsider to now all of a sudden being an insider. And there is a responsibility there, you know, which was not lost on me, that this is a tremendous opportunity and tremendous responsibility to this music, to give it everything I've got. And the fact that it worked on day one, and we decided after the first day jamming together, like, all right, you want to be in the band? You're in the band. Let's make this record. And we started working on a record the next day.
Wow.
And so, and, you know, we've known each other for over 20 years, you know, so there was already that friendship there and connection, and that they knew coming into it. They were like, okay, this guy gets it, obviously. You know, so they get he gets where we're coming from. And now it's just been a constant refining and sharpening of that mindset. And I think the trick is to never really get comfortable. You know, I think that keeps us on our toes, that keeps us wanting to deliver the best. And excuse me, I always have, butterflies walking out on stage, because we're just not an environment that you can settle into and feel comfortable. If we did, then I'd feel something was like terribly wrong.
Yeah. And you got, no, go ahead.
Yeah, that's it. That's really what it comes down to, is I think that's part of the nature of why it works, is like we all really care. We all want to be the best we can be for the band and for ourselves and for each other. And having that understanding, then it's just a matter of like executing every day.
We know how busy, literally every member in this band is, both in and out of Slipknot. Moving forward, do you guys have grand plans of, are you just going to tour for a long period of time? Are you even considering another album? Are you all just going to take some time off following this album? I mean, I've had bands on this podcast who kind of believe that the album is done. That era is over. Where do you guys see the next few years?
It's a great question. I mean, for us, yeah, like we've been done with like making the record for about a year, it just it takes so long for all the stuff to kind of, just come together and put a record out. But no, I mean, we're very excited to put this record out, because it's always exciting to share what you've been creatively up to, and that's an awesome opportunity. For us, I mean, we're quite content to be blazing this path that we're on. We love playing shows. We love creating new music, and why not have both of those go hand in hand? So we approached the end so far much like we did the last two records as well, where it's like we're also really excited. We're very excited to see where we go from here, now that we're done with this album and we're getting ready to share it with people. We approach it with like, we're super excited where we go from here. And also, who knows, this could be the last record. Like, we always treat every record like it's the last one. Ever since I joined, it was like with the Gray Chapter. Oh man, this might be the last Slipknot record. We Are Not Your Kind. This might be the last Slipknot record. It just always is. And I think, with that, you treat it with a grave responsibility of like, let's really make this, every moment on this album count. Let's really put every part of ourselves into this, because you don't know if you're going to get another opportunity. You don't know, tomorrow's never promised. And so while we hope there's plenty left in front of us, many creative pursuits that we want to embark on, you really just never know, and you have to live in the present moment. So I think that's kind of how we approach it, where it's like, if this is the last record, awesome, we're very proud of it. If it's not, awesome, and we can't wait to keep doing what we do. And we're very fortunate to be in that position where it's like, yeah, let's keep this going. Let's see what other directions we can push Slipknot into. And we're very thankful for that. Like, what a great circumstance to find ourselves in. So yeah, more shows, more music. What more can we ask of ourselves?
So the short term for now, at least, is just play some shows and get this album across the world.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely seems like what's on our dashboard. And we're very, we're creative people. You can't really shut us down. So like, we're very fortunate when we travel and play shows. We've got like a mobile studio going with us, which is actually, some of the songs on the end so far came from, our experimentation on the road and being able to record in this mobile studio that we have. So it's like, who's to say that, our next show we'll set up some stuff and be like, hey, that's kind of the start to a new song, and keep it going from there. So that's just kind of the way we're operating right now. And I, for one, am really happy with that.
This is now just a completely selfish question, but you guys were meant to tour Australia in 2019 with Metallica. Is there any hope in hell that tour still might happen?
I'm personally holding out hope that tour will happen. Yeah, no, we love Metallica. I think that's a given, and we hope at any point that could become a reality. That would be just unbelievable. So yeah, hopefully one day I'll keep holding out hope, much like I'm sure everybody else will be. I would love for that to happen too. We all would. So time will tell, but sure, yeah, we'd be down anytime.
Is it more likely in the short term you guys will just come do your own tour in Australia on a headline run?
Perhaps, maybe, yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, we are trying to bring this everywhere that we can. Only recently we were able to start playing outside of our own country, which is great. And we want to do more of that. We certainly have missed a lot of places in the world. Australia, New Zealand, absolutely, we've missed being there. So it's not for lack of us wanting to. Trust me, we want to, and I think there are exciting things ahead. With traditionally, with the release of a new album, there's going to be a lot more stuff coming down the pipeline. So yeah, hopefully that's not too far off now.
Well, Jay, thanks so much for coming on, man. Congratulations on this album. I personally believe you have topped We're Not Your Kind. So,
all right,
mission accomplished, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, talk to you. Bye.